Great. So thank you, John, for being here.
My absolute pleasure.
It's my and our pleasure. Thank you so much. And thank you to all of you for being here from many countries, from Italy, Spain, Japan, China, and many other countries that I really don't remember now. I don't know exactly, but we receive a lot of application from many countries to this international community. Is not only Italia, it's a mindful community. It's not mindfulness community, but it's mindful community. So develop a kind of a mindful society and community. This is the intention of Motus Mundi, and I think also it's the same intention that you have. And this will be the topic of today for this webinar. So I want to welcome all of you, and I'm really excited to see this large community and to have the opportunity to stay here all together in this particular moment of our world, our life, for a kind of deeper reflection that is so central in this period that we are facing. The topic, the theme of today that John suggested, and I really appreciate the suggestion of John, is healing. This amazing word that I hope you, John, later you can to explain the healing and transforming the world. One moment at a time is the power of mindfulness in service of our common humanity. So few words about Motus Mundi. Let me check if some people are in the waiting room. It's open, okay. So this gathering is organized by Motus Mundi, the Italian School of Mindfulness. We are an Italian school. We are member of the international network, the GMC, the Global Mindfulness Collaborative. And then I know that most of you, they know this organization, that are part of this organization. And it's a group of centers, organizations and university that at least 2 decades or more are dedicated to spread out and to preserve, more than spread out, to preserve the criteria, the intention, and the integrity and the wholeness of the BSR program created by you, John, like a pathway in this life. And also the BSR is a way to heal the person, not only the person, but as well through the person to heal the society and the world itself. This is my view, John, and I hope it's close to you. So I'm very pleased to introduce to all of you Jon Kabat-Zinn. I think I don't need so many introduction. You know very well how important is Jon in this world and this society. And Jon is a dear and a fundamental person in our society, in our world, and also in our lives, at least for me, even if I'm sure that is so for many of you. So we are, John, so we are, the reflection that brought us here is we are witnessing and living in a world where few people have broken every human politics, social, international politics, agreements, and social principles, and are trampling on lives, countries, communities, and above all, to children, women, men, elderly, cultures, human principles. So more than before, in every course I have in this period, always people, and not only in the course, or of course also outside the course, but especially in the course that I have, always people are asking and reflecting to me, and all together we are reflecting on how the practice of mindfulness can be a force or resource to uphold principles, people, cultures, the environment, the nature, and the entire world. So What do you think? What do you mean with by healing the world one moment at a time in our lives, not only like a single person, but like a member of a human community and a society? So, thank you, John.
Well, Franco, it's very touching and uplifting for me to see you again and be with you and bow to you for the incredible work that Motus Mundi and you are doing in the world. Dovrebbe dire il mi fa piacere d'être con voi oggi. And that's about the extent of my ruining the beautiful Italian language. But beautiful it is, and I feel tremendously honored to be part of this time together with a community that, as you said, is centered in Italia, but really is global. So it's almost as if whether you're in Rome or you're in Stockholm or you're in Beijing and you offer something with mindfulness, the entire world is going to show up, or at least some major part of the world, namely those of us who are here, which at the moment is 569 people from many, many different places. So this in itself is a kind of affirmation of something going on in the world that was, of course, because of the technology, would have been impossible 20 years ago. So this is a certain kind of magic. And I think we all can agree that it is magical to be able to be together in this way, to celebrate Sangha, to celebrate connection, to celebrate the potential for wisdom and compassion, being not only alive, but being embodied and brought to the interface of the biggest challenges that we're facing at the moment on planet Earth. So I want to also, just thank Giacomo for translating me, which is not easy to do because, I'm translating myself from neuronal activity in my, prefrontal cortex and all the rest of my brain, hopefully, into language using the tongue, moving the air, moving through electric currents to your ears somehow. So it's all tremendously magical. And although we're going to be talking about what I, after Zorba, the Greek, call the full catastrophe of the human condition, the full catastrophe is not all bad. So I want to say that at the very beginning, because our being here is evidence of the beauty of being human and our capacity to dance with whatever arises, just as Zorba did in the face of failure after failure after failure, and recognize the deep beauty and creative possibility and innate compassion and wisdom that comes from being human. And I can tell you that the Dalai Lama, when he begins talking, almost invariably, the first thing he talks about is mothers nursing and taking care of their infants. Because the message is he's pointing out the intrinsic humanity of that kind of a bonding, of love being the primary vehicle of humanity, and that we all, being born out of the bodies of women, which is its own miracle, and I do not speak from personal experience, but just this kind of second person experience of being a father, that there is so much miraculous in life that we often ignore and take for granted or just make pedestrian. And mindfulness is really about recognizing, as Thich Nhat Hanh said long ago, the miracle of being fully present in open-hearted spaciousness in the only time any of us ever have, which is the present moment. And he said that in the middle of a horrifying war that had been going on forever in Vietnam. First with the Japanese, and then with the French, and then with the Americans, and none of that had to happen actually.
John, sorry, a second, because we are receiving
Technical difficulties.
some technical difficulties, yes, about the translation. So I want to inform.
Am I talking too fast?
No. It's now they are writing that is fine, perfect. So they're writing that with okay. Now it's perfect. Sorry, John, you can go on. Sorry.
No problem.
Thank you.
I'm going to try not to use too many words, but to just affirm in our being together today that there is a huge amount of good in humanity. And it lies right here in your own chest, in your own heart, in your own embodied presence, and the motivation. As I was saying, that the first thing the Dalai Lama talks about, aside from the mother-infant bond, is motivation. What is your motivation? What moves you? And of course, all of us have been moved to be here together today. So that's also evidence that mindfulness, as I was saying, and Thich Nhat Hanh wrote the book on it, that it is miraculous. And given the full catastrophe, if you will, of the human condition at this moment, which we are seeing now, and it must be very interesting to be in Italy or in Germany that went through this like 90 years ago, and now to watch it go on in the United States as democracy is systematically being dismantled and a certain kind of autocratic, even fascist tendency to dominate in the world and not follow the law, so to speak, and transform the law and degrade the law. This is something that's been going on the face of planet Earth forever, but now it's going on with nuclear weapons and the potential for levels of damage to the planetary system itself, to Gaia, to Mother Earth, where already, even if we don't have nuclear war, we're transforming the planet in ways that a lot of people in the Trump administration denying. They don't believe in global warming in the face of all the evidence, but of course they also don't believe in science. So now what's happening in the past 40 or 50 years is that the meditative wisdom that's thousands of years old is like a glacier, but moving more quickly, like a melted glacier, a river, flowing into the wisdom dimension of scientific inquiry that grew up in Europe first, and China, and all sorts of different places in the world coming together, also with indigenous wisdom, and the recognition that indigenous people knew how to live in harmony with the earth for thousands and thousands of years without self-destructing. And what we call modern civilization is only like 6,000 years old, since the last ice age, really. And we are on a path to not only destroying our home planet, but destroying ourselves in the process. And this needs to be part of the curriculum of mindfulness. And Thich Nhat Hanh, his entire life unfolded in the midst of war. So he was very articulate about how the meditation practice has to include taking care of each other, taking care of the world as we take care of the deep inner dimensionality of our own awareness, our own consciousness, our own infinite potential for wisdom and compassion. And that they're not separate, as they say, two wings, wisdom, compassion, or mindfulness, compassion, heartfulness, but it's one bird. And we have to, in some sense, understand, humanity has to understand what this one bird is while we still have the chance, because we're so smart that we've developed so many different tendencies and weapons for destroying what we most love and need. And the universe will not care. You know what happens on this planet, the universe could care less. It's very, very big. we're the only locus of consciousness, so of awareness that we know in the vastness of the universe, which is now being displayed even more as we look back in time with the James Webb Space Telescope and see the mystery, the beauty, the enormity of where we live. And we're the only tiny blue dot that we know of where there is awareness, sentience, consciousness, and the capacity for love and interconnectedness, or interbeing, as Thich Nhat Hanh called it. So MBSR, to just start with that, was always meant to be one skillful means out of an infinite number of skillful means for catching people in the medical system, in hospitals and so forth, where medicine is wonderful, but medicine has its limitations. And many people with chronic medical problems sadly discover that there's no magical cure to their pain problem or their particular diagnosis. And the question is, does that mean that we should just wish them well and hope for the best? Or is there some other way to help them to heal by creating programs where they would actually encounter this deep form of meditative awareness that's been around for thousands and thousands of years in humanity, long before Buddhism actually, but they are actually systematic ways of recruiting this superpower that we're all born with as human beings called awareness. And so the challenge is not to become aware, because we're all always, that we're born with the capacity for awareness, but what we need to do is exercise the muscle of awareness, because otherwise we don't have access to it when we need it. So we lose our minds when we most need to. And what I'm going to say, and then I'll stop and we'll move into dialogue, but basically what I'm going to say is that now meditation has been shown to be valuable in medicine and healthcare and public health. That over 50 years we've moved the bell curve of society where medicine and meditation are now considered part of the same thing. That was unimaginably not the case 50 years ago. It would, the idea 50 years ago was that if you brought meditation into the university or to medicine or to hospitals, it would be tantamount, and this is a European image, the Visigoths are at the gates of the citadel of Western civilization, about to completely destroy it. And everybody who meditated was considered to be like a little weird at least, or totally out of their minds, and probably using drugs and all sorts of other things. And now even the view of drugs has changed, and people are investigating what we can learn from using in appropriate ways psychedelics to help people to kind of apprehend the enormity of the possible in this only moment. So there are many streams, but they all find their own way down the mountain, and it's one water, and it's coming from one source. And another way to put it is, there are a lot of different meditation practices and meditation and yoga traditions and so forth, but they're all different doors into the same room, really. Or at least I want to say that. And the room is the room of the human heart when it really knows itself. And this will come out in conversation, that this is an opportunity for human beings on planet Earth to not just meditate by myself, which Thich Nhat Hanh was very clear that's important, but it's not enough, that we need to actually recognize interbeing as Sangha and actually act in the world, engage with the world to turn it in a direction that maximizes well-being and benefit and minimizes insanity, harm, greed, hatred, and delusion, which was the Buddha's original diagnosis. So I'll stop here. Again, thank Giacomo for keeping up with my verbal stream that's attempting to put into words something that's very actually challenging to articulate.
So John, you talked before about the two wings, The 2 weeks are connected with the same unique and universal heart. It is what we share universally. And but we are not educated to listen hard, but only to prepare the mind for being like a kind of a machine about working, learning, for doing. And we totally forget the wisdom of the heart. And but there is something, we are a few friends here listening and talking. So there is something that I was very touched by the sense of and the view, the wisdom of about the healing. Sometimes we believe the healing like a miracle, something that has to change some situation and come back as we were before. But what do you mean? I think what I feel about this, the healing, is to reconnect with the innate nature, even if we are facing a strong situation. And just a few stories about me in my life. More than one times, I think, like most of us, I felt myself like broken in 1,000 pieces. And most of the time, I try to recollect these pieces. And one time I say, why I have to recollect again? I cannot recollect like before. And if these pieces could be like seeds, and when I stopped to recollect, I saw to grow something bigger than me, something that I can explain, this integrity, this wholeness. So the question that I have inside of me is, how can I explain? Let me try. What was for you that moment that you open your heart through the MBSR? What you felt? Which was your, if you can share, your vision, your feeling, your deep feeling that in your soul arise this unbelievable, unbelievable way that is the MBSR.
Well, that's actually a very elaborate story, something of a koan, and it would be true for every one of us. Like, what was it that in the past led to this moment?
Yeah. Yeah.
And so there's an element of mystery to it, but there is also, in my case, just speaking for myself, a longing to understand what my job on the planet was as a young person, what my karmic assignment was. Because I had a lot of influences from the world and from my parents and from the family that I was born into. And so a lot of it kind of like is mechanical. You go to school, you learn some stuff, there's some things you like, there's some things you don't like, but who are you? Well, that's something of a mystery. And it's like, you're not your name, you're not your age, you're not your experience, and you're not your inexperience. I think the deepest answer to that question is, I don't know who I am. But if I'm anything, and this, of course, took me a very long time to recognize, when you get rid of or dissolve the personal pronouns I, me, and mine, you're the miracle of awareness, or the miracle of mindfulness. And it is a mystery, and it is a miracle, and we don't know how awareness arises in the universe. And it's a big question among philosophers about whether it was intrinsic in the Big Bang, which is also a big mystery. Nobody knows what happened before the Big Bang, which is pretty funny. Serious scientists say you just can't even ask that question, but they say that everything came out of nothing, which is hard to actually swallow. And or, you know, so how do we come to be who we are on this small planet? And I think this is the curriculum for this small planet, is we either wake up or we're going to destroy ourselves in one way or another, or create hell realms that nobody's going to want to live in. And as I said, the more the weapons get powerful, the more urgent it is for us to not have another world war. to not have nuclear wars, to not drop bombs on cities, nuclear bombs. The only country that's done that is the United States, twice. We could have demonstrated the power of what they called atomic energy, but just demonstrate it, not drop it on Hiroshima or Nagasaki. But we chose not to. You can understand in a certain way why, because war is, just horrifying. But imagine if that was Rome or Paris, if you can't relate to Nagasaki or Hiroshima. It's like humans did that and America did it. Okay? So where does wisdom come into this? Is it possible for us to govern ourselves in a new way? And you know who's asking this question big time? And actually from the very beginning, it was asking this question big time, is the United Nations. And I was recently in Geneva at a conference in December of the United Nations. It was actually called by the Office of the High Commissioner of Human Rights, Volker Turk. And he brought all sorts of mindfulness people together from all around the world to talk about, they called it united and present. How can the UN actually serve this role as a kind of Archimedes fulcrum to help turn the world in the direction of compassion, of wakefulness, of sanity, of common sense, and not just, Ukraine or Gaza or, or Venezuela or now Iran and the horrors that we perpetrate in the name of freedom and well-being, and the people who die, the children, the mothers, the land that's polluted, the toxicity of it all, they're like just kind of casualties of mindlessness and heartlessness. And so I think the antidote is mindfulness, is heartfulness, that humanity, and it's not like you have to get anything, everybody's already aware. But we're not aware that we're aware. We don't know how to access that awareness. And there's only one moment that we ever have to access it, as you all know, because I'm guessing you're all meditators, and that is now. So how do we embody wakefulness and compassion, open-hearted presence in this now? So MBSR is about that for individual human beings.
Sorry, just a little bit is low for Giacomo.
Okay.
Sorry, sorry.
Thanks for the feedback. So MBSR is that attempt with human beings who are falling through the cracks of medicine and healthcare. But now we need to do medicine and healthcare on the planet itself. And the original cause of this autoimmune disease of planet Earth, which is called Homo sapiens sapiens, it's us. And we need to wake up. And that's what the UN is trying to do big time, is to actually introduce mindfulness and compassion into all its work. Now, it's always done that since the days of Dag Hammarskjöld, because the idea was to never have another war like World War II.
So, and John, I have a short story that some times ago, or some years ago, when I was in the USA for one of the courses, training experience, and staying close to to the origin and transmission of the BSR. One day I was outside the Center for Mindfulness, outside the door of the last center. I saw the other also places before, but I spent a few months there, you remember.
I remember.
I was imposed just outside the door. There was the label of Center for Mindfulness in Medicine, Healthcare, and my gosh, and Society. So I was like, at the moment that I felt more and more your intention is for in the medicine, okay, for the healthcare, but you created in the medical school a Center for Mindfulness for the society.
Yeah.
So the question is, I think you are the best person to make this question. How, in which sense, the mindfulness, the practice of awareness, is also a practice of peaceful activism, because it's kind of a peaceful activism.
Yeah. Yeah, and I would say that that activism could look a lot like nothing.
Mhm.
If you, when you take your seat in the morning, and just let me, I can there are how many screens? There are 23 screens at the moment, so I can't look at all of you. But
Yeah, yeah,
raise
yeah.
your hands.
We can go out to the just a moment. We go to the main screen. Sorry. How can
Okay, so
oh,
I'm in gallery view, and I want you to just raise your hands if you have a regular, hopefully daily meditation practice. Just raise your hands where you actually practice sitting or lying down or standing yoga. Just raise your hands. Okay, so it's lots and lots of people, okay? Yeah, and I see we're moving through the screen. So yeah, lots of hands up. Okay, so this is gigantic. When you take your seat in the morning, and I'm using taking your seat as a metaphor, sitting meditation, that's a radical act. Other people will think you're crazy because, if they look at you, you're saying, well, what do you do? You're doing nothing. You're wasting time. Why don't you just get up, have a cup of coffee, and jump on the train and go to work or whatever?
stop
Or take care
with,
of your
please
kids.
stop with the hands. I can't see any more, John. Sorry.
Yeah, well, you can bring us back to the original one.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm not trying to
I,
control my screen,
I
but
can't
I'm loving seeing all
see.
of you.
Okay, okay. Now I got it. I got
Formidabile.
it. Okay,
Okay,
perfect.
so I'm going to put myself back in gallery view if you don't mind.
No, no.
So what I'm saying is when you take your seat in the morning, that's a radical act. And I would say that it's a radical act of sanity
Mm,
to stop
mm,
all the doing and the reactivity and the thinking, although we're not trying to stop thinking, and move into the superpower of just being
mm,
with intentionality. Not to try to get anywhere else, but to be where you actually are and with your heart and your mind as they are. So that may be full of anger, full of grief, full of sadness, full of fear, full of impatience. And the idea is not to change any of that. The idea is to apprehend it, to hold it in awareness. Why? Because it's here now. It's in the present moment. So we're not trying to improve on the present moment. We're learning how to actually take up resonancy in awareness that instantly transforms your relationship to what? Only everything. Only everything. And that's the miracle of mindfulness. It's not to achieve some special state. And it's really important not to use the word state when you're thinking about mindfulness, because then all the neuroscientists will want to study this special state that we call mindful awareness. But it's not a state, it's a way of being. And you might even say a way with a capital W, like Tao. And so science has a long way to go to really understand what this non-doing awareness really is. But as I said, all we need to do is cultivate ongoing access to it because it already is our truest nature in some sense. This is what the Buddhists would call Buddha nature, or we just call your nature or your true nature. Who are you is a Zen koan. And the most authentic answer is really, as my Korean Zen master used to say, Songsan Sonsanim, don't know. I don't know. That no, not knowing, non sapere, that not knowing is a kind of genius energy, especially when you know that you don't know. Then the mystery of awareness comes up, and you can learn to inhabit this superpower moment by moment by moment and set it, as the neuroscientists might say, as your default mode instead of thinking, and reacting, and fearing. And if you're going to try to heal the world, that's really important that you not lose your mind in the process, because all of the pain that we're experiencing in the world and all of the fear that comes up from the fact that we may be destroying the future for our children and grandchildren. So we need each other. We need this Dharma vector of wisdom, and the curriculum and the challenge is, can humanity wake up to the name that the scientist Linnaeus gave to humanity, Homo sapiens sapiens, the species that is aware and is aware that it is aware. So awareness and meta-awareness, not, as a lot of scientists like to say, cognition and metacognitions, and nothing to do with cognition. It has to do with awareness, human awareness. And awareness...
Can you repeat, John, please? That is not about metacognition. Can you repeat?
It's not about it's not about cognition and metacognition. It's about awareness and meta-awareness. Okay, there's a very big difference. And so when we take our seat, that is what we're doing, is we're actually learning to rest or reside. Just the way right now you're all at home, right? Everybody's at home, I think, or almost everybody. And with Zoom, we get to see each other in our homes. When does that ever happen? We go to work, we are out in the street, we go to the piazza, whatever it is, but very few, only your deepest friends ever see you at home, or the person who's fixing your plumbing or electricity. But now we're seeing each other at home. And the real invitation of mindfulness is, why not be at home everywhere, in every moment, in your body, in your breath, in the kind of fundamental genius of deep seeing, and with the motivation, to come back to motivation, for healing suffering, maximizing well-being, and minimizing harm. And that harm, the Buddha, as I said, diagnosed it really beautifully 2,600 years ago, and nobody's improved on it: greed, hatred, and delusion. And that's what we're seeing everywhere in the world: greed, hatred, and delusion. But now with nuclear weapons, and now with drones, and now with, sort of these like electronic warfare, and soon robot militaries and satellites that can destroy things with lasers. I mean, when are we going to wake up and realize that this is a path to insanity and total harm and delusion, and learn how to govern ourselves in an appropriate way, which is the root meaning of the word dharma, is lawfulness and governance. And so if we can create democratic governments, and then of course they can be threatened by autocracy, we can learn how to create another level of governance where we actually outlaw, by making new laws, certain levels of wealth accumulation, certain levels of greed, hatred, and delusion. And rather than imprisoning people, because in a certain sense we're all imprisoned on planet Earth, we need to actually liberate the true nature of all human beings. And we can do it. We have to do it. And if we fail, at least we tried. But I don't know of too many other things that we could do. And then it can be expressed through governance, through the United Nations, through the United States, through every country on planet Earth could wake up to its true nature and stop building weapons of mass destruction and start building institutions of mass creation and fraternity. You know, as the French say, égalité, fraternité, liberté. But what is it? So that's the vision. And it's not different from the vision of MBSR, which was always meant not as a therapy. I'm not a therapist. It was meant to move the bell curve of humanity in the direction of greater wakefulness and the consequences of health and well-being. That's a public health. That's a public health activity. Moving the bell curve of humanity. That's what we need to do. And every single one of us can play a role in that. Just by taking our seat. It's a radical act of sanity. It's a radical act of love. And when you take your seat, the world's already different in a small but not insignificant way. And then you become a kind of vector for healing, for sanity, for non-harming, for compassion. And then we act in the ways that we act, not just alone, but together, and we learn how to work together. I think that's the karmic assignment of humanity at the moment, and especially of people who are deeply into meditation and mindfulness in particular. We should be asking ourselves, what's my unique karmic assignment, and how does that interface with the larger karmic assignment of humanity at this particular moment on planet Earth? That's all.
Thank you so much. So a couple of things. One was just to be aligned and close to you when you talk about this the space of not knowing, and sometimes I'm really reflecting about how our culture has forget one of the biggest teacher about not knowing, that there was Socrates. In
Yeah.
our culture here, Mediterranean area close to Italy, we are the first that we have forgot the full approach to the life of Socrates, about investigating, not to affirm a true, but to investigating content, constant, all the time. Sorry, my English just
No, it's
my
keep.
mind. Continuously investigating the nature of life, not to affirm a true, but to investigate the real true. And better than me, and us, he always saying, I know or I don't know. So, and it's not only these sentences, but there was the heart of searching the life full time, because it's a very long, huge opportunity, the life. This is one reflection about the education, that we lost this kind of education about knowing and learning by life and learning by heart, close to the
Yeah.
learning, also by mind,
First person
also,
learning.
yeah, first person learning. And yes, we study Socrates, Plato in the books, but it's not part of the real education, because they left in this world a kind of education or pedagogism that we really forgot. So, but coming back about to activism, sometimes people think that, and the other reason sometimes that the meditation is just look in the breath and look in the belly, is something bigger than this, bigger the research of who am I really. And also there is a kind of activism in this, like you said. And sometimes when the people say, mindfulness and being sad is like not taking place in the life. Sometimes I'm sorry, John. I used to say, look to Jon Kabat-Zinn. So you are to a nation organization, to many governments. You are in England, in other countries, to talk and to lead us to practice, to take politics close to practice. You did a lot in the USA, in England, I think also in other countries like that. And people say, but I'm not like Jon Kabat-Zinn. I can go to the government to talk. Yes, but we have our life. We can do something like a grandfather, father, mother, like education, like educators, like medical, like employees. Every moment we can do something. I think that if we awake this awareness with this karma assignments that you say, I'm an administrator, but I'm in the companies, I'm in the hospital, I'm in the school, everywhere, I'm in my family. Every moment is kind of really the activism or the awareness and the love.
I love hearing you say that.
Thank you. But I
No,
want to know.
it's very true.
Yeah,
And so meditation's not about being like somebody else.
yeah,
And meditation's about discovering who you are. And then your karmic assignment becomes, in some sense, part of the curriculum. You might begin wondering, what is my karmic assignment? That wondering is deep inquiry. It's a deep meditative inquiry. Thinking's a part of it, but it's much bigger than thinking. Feeling emotions is a part of it, but it's much bigger than that. So this is the kind of, as I said, the superpower, but also the mystery of human awareness is like, if you really, are you your name? No. Are you your age? No. Are you your gender identification? No. Well, who are you? Well, maybe the most authentic thing to say is, to tell you the truth, I don't know. But who is the I that's even saying, I don't know? So there's a kind of mystery associated with it. But when you leave thinking for a moment and just drop into wakefulness, into awareness, which, as I said, is available 24/7. It's like our superpower of superpowers. Then you don't have to know. You can simply be aware and notice what the universe is giving back to you. So when you see harm happening, if you see a child who's unhappy, for whatever reasons, you pick up that child or you address the situation. Or if you see somebody in the street that's unfortunate and, panhandling, begging, do you turn away because like, I don't need to see that, that's another problem, that's not my problem? Or do you actually see the person's humanity and let them see your humanity? Doesn't necessarily mean giving them money, but it means if you shut down, who's suffering from that? It's not that person. They're not to blame. So then maybe you can encounter the people you love in a different way, the people who you don't love but you don't have a problem with in a different way. And then maybe begin to sort of like, because if you turn all the people that you don't like what they're doing, including, even the so-called, the people you might think of are evil, and you turn them into the enemy, then their toxicity is now, in some sense, part of you. So how do you actually hold that without falling into the toxicity? Thich Nhat Hanh, in some sense, reinvigorated the entire Zen tradition in his home country of Vietnam by bringing it out of the monasteries and into engagement with the society at a time even, of constant war, but also enormous suffering, and finding a way to actually, and a very poetic, a very beautiful way to actually stand up for what's true, not turn away from the suffering, but at the same time, not be completely captured by the suffering to the point where you can't function. And he did that just being him, but he was one of an infinite number of examples of people who find their own path to raise up a common humanity, to recognize its own, not just beauty, but power to transform society. Don't forget, there were a number of people, monastics in Vietnam, who took a can of gasoline, sat down in the middle of a carrefour, a crossroads, poured gasoline over their heads and lit themselves on fire, and then meditated. I mean, that is a jaw-dropping statement of suffering and selflessness, and transcending a sense of me and my pain. It's almost unimaginable, but quite a few monastics, men and women, did that, just to express the suffering that's going on. And the suffering is associated with greed. I mean, all of this stuff is about greed. Whether it's Trump, whether it's Putin, whether it's Xi, it's like, they're all multi-billionaires. And what about the rest of us? Now, if you think of money as a blood supply for the body politic, then if your leg didn't get a good blood supply, what would happen. You would basically, it would necrose and you would die. If your heart doesn't get enough blood supply, that's why the coronary artery is the first artery to come off of the heart. It feeds itself because the heart has to keep going. But every cell in the body, and there are trillions of cells in the human body, everyone needs enough oxygen. And the only way it can get it is through the blood supply. So what about society is the same way, the body politic. If people don't have enough wherewithal to live their lives, then that's going to create toxicity and, and disease. But if certain people want to grab all the oxygen, grab all the money, and put it into Bitcoin and Trump coins and all of this other stuff. This is just what the Buddha was talking about, concentrating wealth through greed. And we're seeing the consequences of it. That people in the United States now can't afford food. This is the United States of America, the most wealthy country that has ever existed on planet Earth. And that wealth is being completely sucked into the hands of several thousand people who are the kind of, the big shots at Apple and Google and Facebook and so we need to wake up and heal the condition of planet Earth while we have time. Whether we can do it or not, as I said, I don't know. But that's why I take my seat in the morning, because if I don't tune my instrument in this way, by not thinking about any of this stuff, by the way, I'm not thinking, oh yeah, the UN and Putin and Xi, and no, it's not about, but they're in my head. I can't get them out of my head. So, but awareness doesn't have a problem with that, because then Putin and Xi, they're just like clouds in the sky, just like anger or depression or thoughts about what I'm going to buy at the store. I mean, it's all just weather patterns. But if you're the sky, that's not a problem.
Yeah.
Day is not a problem. Night is not a problem. That's where the mountain meditation can be very valuable, till you just sit like a mountain in not knowing. And that energizes a certain kind of intentionality that all of the different teachers are talking about, really from all the different traditions. And then out of this being, out of this like human being, but we're exploring and learning how to live inside the territory of being in this only moment. So it's like timeless now. Then doing can come out of that, but it's a very different doing. And this is what we see in terms of healing in MBSR. But now we need to heal the world and our own hearts in a way that it's not a luxury, it's an absolute necessity. The world is on fire. I mean, Sansanim used to give us this koan, the world is on fire. What can you do? Well, if your house is on fire, you don't keep meditating. You get up and you get out and you save the children or the other people who are sleeping in the house or whatever it is, but you act. But that's not separate from the meditation. The real meditation is life itself. And this sitting or formal practices in a certain kind of way, exercising the muscle so that you can be present in an open-hearted, wise, spacious, clear way in every moment. Then life becomes the meditation practice. Because awareness is available in every moment. It's just cultivating access to it and remembering to cultivate access to it, because it's so easy to get. Thinking is so powerful. Liking and disliking is so powerful. Making good and bad is so powerful that we can get caught in it. No one can do this perfectly. I mean, but it's not about perfection. It's about recognizing the imperfection is part of the perfection. And it's also beautiful. And we can learn a lot from our own mistakes and our own inadequacy. And that's why we need each other, including to tell us when we're off, when we are wrong. And that's where Sangha is like really important. And that's where I don't know if people have seen this in the United States, but you should Google the March for Peace by the Buddhist monks in the United States. They marched for like over 300 miles barefoot in the snow from Texas to Washington. And then at the end, one Buddhist monk gave a speech in front of the National Cathedral on mindfulness and finding peace in your own heart in this moment. It's really worth watching. It's really worth watching. And it's not about Buddhism. They were all monks, in the Theravada tradition. But it wasn't about Buddhism. It was just like them taking responsibility, being who they were, for being Buddhists, yes. But they're not talking about Buddhism. They're talking about mindfulness. They're talking about heartfulness. They're talking about compassion. And they're not just talking, they're walking in the snow, in the freezing cold, sometimes barefoot. And you can see this sort of, this particular monk who's speaking, he has a robe that has a kind of sash over it. And on the sash are all these badges.
Yeah.
The badges are from the police departments of the towns that they walk through in the southern United States, where you might not think the police would be that friendly to people who are protesting the government or the way things are in the United States. And he has like tons of badges that the police gave them, because no one's ever seen people take on that kind of selfless statement in the face of, and it's non-dualistic. It wasn't like they were trying to change anything. They were just embodying peacefulness and
they were simple people, not special people, right?
simple people. And a lot of people walked with them, of course, and animals too. But, this kind of a demonstration that you don't have to be violent to transform the world, or at least let the world know that there's another way to be.
Yeah.
And that's what peace is. And if you listen to these talks, it's all about mindfulness. It's saying we need to cultivate mindfulness here in the heart. And as you know, in all Asian languages, the word for mind and the heart is the same word. So it's not like compassion's different from mindfulness. Mindfulness is heartfulness. And if that's not brought into your meditation practice on an everyday basis, then we should be asking ourselves what we're actually engaging in. And I love that. I mean, this is really a love affair with the world. So it's not just a love affair with your meditation cushion, or with silence, or with calmness of mind, or with insight. And I have such great insights. The insights aren't the problem. The I is a big problem.
Yeah. And I would think about when you talk about the karmic assignment. Sometimes the mind is, oh, I have to find my karmic assignment. Where is it? It's here. It's here. We don't have to find the karmic
No,
assignment.
you are
It's
it.
we are. It's within us, right now, in
Yeah.
our house, in our city, in our room, with the environment, with the people close to us. We have all the opportunity. The world is our karmic assignment. It's to make meaningful our presence, and the relation with everything is supporting us to be alive. It's here. We are not to understand. It's here. We are embodying the karmic assignment. I cannot be a medical doctor for emergency. I have a lot of admiration for the medical doctor of emergency, or all the organization that go in these places. They take holidays. To heal people, children, something. I can do that, but we have our karmic assignment here, and if we connect to our karmic assignment, this here, many things can happen, and not so special. And I remember always E.T. Illesum, or Viktor Frankl, or Anna Frank. E.T. Illesum was this young woman that was Jewish and was captured by Nazis. And what she wrote, she cannot change anything. She cannot stop Nazism. She not can do anything. But she wrote the feeling. And there is one sentence that I read recently. She said, "Oh my God, you cannot help us. We have to help you. We have to help you. And how we can help? We can help you. Do not forgive you in ourselves. Not to lose our humanity. Even if she was transported, she was in the train to be transported in a Nazi's camp." And what she wrote, if someone doesn't know, E.T. Illesum, it's amazing to read what she wrote. And she impacted and influences many people reading only her notes. She doesn't change, but she stays close to her karmic assignments, her nature, her essence. She not betrayed. Her nature was very strong, like I can imagine, like experience. She simply wrote. Fortunately, what she wrote remain, and it's really, really, really meaningful what she did without changing the world, but being herself. So,
Shranko, I'm wondering whether at
yeah,
this point, since
yeah,
we've done so much talking, I've done so
yeah,
much talking, maybe we could have a little guided meditation
yeah,
and just have all of us, which is now, again,
yeah,
way more than 500 people,
yeah,
just settling into ourselves wherever you are in the world. Would that be okay if I guided a
yeah.
little?
Thank you, John.
Because it's very important not to be overwhelmed by toxicity or anger or feelings of frustration or inadequacy. There's nobody here on this call who's inadequate. We say to the people in MBSR who come with every conceivable medical diagnosis imaginable, when we say, look, from our point of view, as long as you're breathing, there's more right with you than wrong with you, no matter what's wrong with you. And we're going to pour energy in the form of mindfulness, awareness into what's right with you, and let the rest of the world, the rest of the healthcare system, the rest of the hospital take care of what's wrong with you. So right now, let's drop into what's right with us and what's right with the world. And part of what's right with the world is that we're all here together now. And each of us is at home. And so maybe seeing if you can be truly at home in your own heart and your own skin, your own body, and this timeless present moment we call now. It's sometimes helpful, especially if, when you're new to meditation, like the first 30 or 40 years, to tune into some kind of really salient element of the body. And the breath is very functional that way. So maybe just tuning into the breath moving in your body and realizing that you're being breathed a lot more than you are breathing, because it happens at night when you're asleep. The breath is always moving until it isn't. So there's a deep miracle in being alive. We say I'm breathing, but it can't be true. Breathing is doing us. Breathing is just happening. And we can hold the breath sensations in the body in awareness with no agenda other than to be fully present. And the breath is just an object of attention. It's not the objects of attention that are important, it's the attending itself, which means awareness. So can we take up residency in awareness as our truest home, our truest nature, and recognize that we belong and that we are totally at home right in this moment, with everything exactly as it is, including the world, including the horrors of the world, which in one way or another have been going on forever. And so we don't need to be captured by those horrors, but in fact liberate them in ourselves in this timeless moment. And then maybe we can actually work together to liberate them in humanity itself. Help countries wake up and not declare war or pull back and declare peace. Build a department of peace rather than wanting a department of war. And that also is can you be a member of the Department of Peace right now, part of the body politic, one cell in the body politic right now, and be a cell of embodied peace, wakefulness, non-harming, compassion? And the answer is, of course you can. But I'm talking underneath thought, underneath my words, to invite you to drop into where the words are pointing to and your own heart is opening to. And then no more words are necessary, and we can just rest in awareness, in silence. So as best you can, in the silence, in the stillness, recognizing the miracle of your own awareness, the beauty of your own humanity, just as you are. No quote unquote improvements necessary. That you are a flower on life, a form of life flowering, if you will, on planet Earth in this moment. And the world absolutely needs all its flowers. And you are one. And that we together, in ways that are really hard to put into words, simply by sitting together and with some common intentionality and open-heartedness and compassion, have already changed the world just by coming together like this in this moment. And that those reverberations, although small, are not insignificant, and they will go out into the world and lead to other significant moments. And that change is not something we have to push or force. And skillfully, it unfolds constantly in ways that we can nuance, nurture, nudge, illuminate, and make a difference that may seem small, but in the end, even tiny little differences are huge and can make enormous, bring enormous change into the world. Not driven by forcing or by greed or by animosity, but out of a deep understanding of the interconnectedness of all things and our common humanity. There's no human being on planet Earth that doesn't have a belly button, who was not born out of the body of a woman. We have a lot in common, including the impulse to belong and to know who we are and to feel at home. And we can connect with each other in that kind of a way and recognize each other's humanity and being at home. Impossible things happen in no time. Things do change. The law of impermanence is always at work. And we can continue to ask ourselves, what is my individual and what is our collective karmic assignment on planet Earth at this moment? And then let that be the love affair that brings you to your meditation cushion, and it brings you out into the world. As Naomi Shihab Nye, the great Palestinian-American poet, said in her poem Kindness, to mail letters and purchase bread, everyday human things. Every one of us has the entire universe inside us. Every one of us isn't just a galaxy or two, but we're an infinitude of atoms and electrons and protons and neutrons and mostly empty space, and yet sentient, yet capable of awareness and love and embodied wakefulness and wisdom. And the world needs all its flowers, every single one of us. And coming together on an occasion like this, catalyzed by Franco and Motus Mundi, can be a real occasion for remembering who we are and what we love and what our hearts are calling out of us to heal ourselves and the world. So once again, bringing the awareness of the breath in the body to the center stage in the field of your awareness, and a sense of the body as a whole, sitting here if you're sitting, excuse me, and breathing. And then if your eyes have been closed, I invite you to open them to your screen, because we're still all at home and here together. And you'll notice, and I say this a lot nowadays, that, although they sometimes use bells as they do in temples to signal the beginning of a meditation practice or the end of a meditation practice, you'll notice I did not use any bells. I have them right here, but I didn't use them. And I'm not going to use them now to end the meditation practice, because there is no beginning to the meditation practice, and there's no end to the meditation practice. It's life itself. And so our being together like this, our conversation, our speaking, as well as our silences, it's all part of this love affair. And I love that. So, Franco, over to you.
Yeah. So I saw that some people raised their hand. I don't know if to
Nice to see a lot of these hearts exploding. A new way of expressing emotion now that we're in the digital era. Right back at you, as we say in English. Right back at you.
So I will open the chat.
Maybe we can also just have some questions and answers, comments, people who can speak in English or in Italian.
In English better, yes, because make a problem
Yeah,
with the translation.
and because I think that it's important for all of our voices, and so, or at least some of our voices, to be expressed at this point. I don't want to just go on more and more talking. I think I've said pretty much everything that needs saying for today.
We can go back to the main hall, and let I go back, and then this and
I also want to,
yeah, please.
excuse me, I also want to take a moment to just pay homage to my dear old friend Corrado Pensa
Yeah.
from Ameco, the Associazione della Consapevolezza at Roma, and his wonderful wife Nava. Corrado died a number of years ago, but Corrado was a wonderful exponent of mindfulness and Dharma in Italy, in Roma. And I just had a very, very deep heart connection with him from 1975 when we met at Esalen on the Pacific coast. So just to say that, he was a very big advocate, as is Neva now, of bringing mindfulness into the mainstream of society in Italia.
Okay, so John, let me read some reflection. So I love Sonia from Switzerland or Spain. Maybe she's from Spain. She lives in Switzerland. She wrote, "I love the love affair. I wonder, does Jon Kabat-Zinn you still think a BSR is the priority program to be taught today, or does he think it should be another program?"
Well, I can answer that. Of course, it should continue. MBSR is a kind of Dharma vehicle to bring the Dharma into the world, and it's also healing. So there would be no reason not to continue to offer it and have it spread through into hospitals and other places around the world, and also to be studied scientifically more and more in terms of healing. But as I said, I think earlier, MBSR is just one form in which the M can move into the world. And it was meant from the very beginning. It was never about MBSR, build some wonderful thing that everybody will love. It's about the M, consapevolezza. So yeah, I'm very happy for MBSR to be growing and to be more and more researched by new generations of scientists and public health people. And it is, you mentioned the Center for Mindfulness in in healthcare, in medicine, healthcare, and society at the UMass. It was the first center for mindfulness in a university in the United States. Now, Harvard University has not just a center for mindfulness, a Thich Nhat Hanh Center for Mindfulness in the Harvard University School of Public Health, and very, very well funded. So, and we're going to be having a conference on April 7th, which you can probably all tune into if you can find the website for it, on compassion and mindfulness. So, no, I mean, MBSR is just one of an infinite number of ways in which mindfulness can flower. And that's why I said that every single one of us is a flower, and the world needs every single one of us to really discover or ask deep questions about what is my karmic assignment? What is the yogis might say, swadharma, my swadharma, self-dharma, and how that can flower in the world at this time where the world is on fire and humanity is crying. The Middle East is crying. The Gulf of Hormuz is crying. Iran is crying. I mean, the United States is crying. The whole world is on fire and crying. And so, no, MBSR is not the solution to that. It's the M that is the solution to that. That's what I'm saying.
Thank you, John. And yeah. I don't know all the world, of course. I don't know all the programs, but I still teach in the MBSR since some years. I think I taught more than 200 MBSR. And more I teach the MBSR, and more bigger, more unknown is the humanity, because it's a way to match the humanity. So it's not this terrific Italian expression, it's a protocol, it's not a protocol. It's a way of living, it's a way of staying together. I don't know all the world, but well, I met every MBSR, that every class that I stayed together with the people is something that is amazing. So of course there are some valid programs, of course, but personally, I feel very well in the pedagogic way of learning from each other, that really MBSR is teaching. There is no instructor, but it's a community that can sit together and can go to heal and to find the nature of healing that is in ourselves.
And I'll just say, Franco, since you brought it up, that after 47 years, I've agreed to actually work with people at Brown and UMass to develop not a protocol, but a curriculum guide
Yeah,
that for new teachers, so that they understand in a certain way what MBSR is and also what MBSR isn't. And the fact that the curriculum guide is very explicit at saying that no matter how good this is and no matter how wonderful things that are in here, what's in here is not the curriculum. The
no,
curriculum is not complete until you complete it as the MBSR teacher. So the real curriculum is in the interaction between you, your own practice, the world, and then basically this particular framework in which we can offer mindfulness and compassion in medicine and healthcare and other conditions in the world.
thank you, John. So there is another question. It's Irene. She asks, how can I convince my parents to meditate? I think they need it too much.
That's hopeless.
Yeah.
That's hopeless. You can't convince your parents to meditate. Although I'll tell you what some people have done. And they will leave a book about mindfulness in their parents' house on the coffee table and not say a word about it. But then if the mother or father picks it up and say, "What's this?" and say, "Well, I just thought you might be interested in this," but then don't say anything. And just leave it on the coffee table. And then maybe they'll pick it up. And I can't tell you how many people have told me that they've done that. one of the original MBSR teachers, one of my dearest colleagues who's now long gone, Ferris Urbanowski, when I was writing Full Catastrophe Living, I sent her a publisher's copy before it came out. You know, it wasn't even the book, it was just the manuscript bound. She left it on her coffee table, and her father, who was a Delta Airlines pilot, so traveled all around the world, you know, it was like for his whole career, and did some very strange, far out things with flying, you know, around the North Pole and South Pole, North Pole and South Pole, doing scientific studies. And he was a very rational person and thought her yoga and her meditation were like crazy. What happened to my daughter? He just happened to pick up this copy, this preprint of Full Catastrophe Living, and started leafing through it. And he said to her, "Why didn't you tell me that meditation is about awareness? It's about attention." And so sometimes you can't hear it from your children or from anybody else. You have to actually connect on your own. And that's the job of the MBSR teacher, is to transmit the love, not techniques, not protocols, but embodied love and presence and the genius that resides in every single human being. That's what I mean when I say everybody's a flower. It's genius. Or Buddha nature, depending on your language, whatever you want to call it. Who you really, 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 really are.
Okay, so there is another question was similar to the first one. You have already replied that was from Alessia, how to help other people engage in meditation, but I think you have already replied. So there is another question is about can you explain the difference between meta-awareness and meta-cognition? As an older translator from Tibetan, it is a challenge to not use Rigpa, as it is often used as awareness.
Yeah. Well, the difference between meta-awareness and metacognition is the difference between awareness and thinking. So it's not complicated. Thinking is one very powerful human capacity. And I love thinking. I mean, thinking is incredible, but thinking can also be very dangerous if it's conceived or driven by ignorance or greed or delusion. Awareness, as I said, is really a superpower that trumps even thinking. I don't like to use that verb, trumps, but it's a very useful word in English, verb, because awareness is bigger than thinking, and I can prove it easily, because think of the biggest thought in the world, the biggest, whatever you want to think of, even the universe, as a thought, but awareness can hold that thought. So in order to be able to hold it, it's bigger. So meta-awareness means that you're aware of the dimensionality of your own awareness. And metacognition means that you're aware of the stream of your thoughts. Now, when you're meditating, it's very good to be aware of the stream of your thoughts, but not to think more about them, or like some thoughts, not like other thoughts, try to manipulate the thoughts. No, the thinking is a stream of very powerful, for good or for bad, but awareness is only for good.
Yeah. There is a kind of tendency in the MBSR teacher just to reduce about mindfulness like observing the thoughts, and it's not about the nature of our awareness.
Well, observing thought is part of it, but then part of it is who's the observer.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, who am I? That's the most important part of it. And then you get into language problems, because some people will say, become a witness to your thoughts.
Exactly.
But then you're reifying a you who is witnessing something that's not you, that's a thought separate from you. And that, of course, is dualistic and lacking in any kind of wisdom.
Yeah.
So language becomes really important, and awareness of how we actually put things into words. That's why Dante, I mean, his poetry
Yeah,
is a form of wisdom
yeah,
that is, nel saudade cammino di nostra vita mi ritrovai, per selva oscura. The selva oscura is here.
yeah. And also, as you mentioned during the practice, not about observing the breath like an object. It's about it's another way to refine this difference, the separation between me and the life like an object, the body like an object, the breath like an object. Maybe I don't know if also the mouse is really an object or is inner experience about seeing and being aware. So, but is this reiterating, repeating this separation between me, to be the witness, and something that is separate from the awareness of the
Yeah, but the problem is witnessing. I
yeah,
don't know if you have this in Italian. We call them present participles.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
So yeah, I,
yeah, yeah.
you have them in Italian, right?
Yes, yes,
So
yeah,
you can say witnessing, and
yeah.
then there's no me witnessing something else. It's non-dual. But if you say I am witnessing this, then you're
Be
creating
like a witness. Yes,
subject-object dualism, it's called. And this is seriously problematic.
yeah, yeah,
That's a big intellectual, sort of topic.
yeah,
So I think it's better to just avoid it by remembering, use present participles,
yeah.
you know.
So, but
So in yoga too, I mean, if people are yoga teachers, you don't want to use command language, lift your right leg,
yeah,
lower your right leg. You just say lifting, and then it's like people do it, they don't want to do it. Then there's the question of who's doing the lifting. And that becomes like a non-dual inquiry, very meditative.
so there is another question from Raphael. I'm experiencing mindfulness in management. What do you think about it?
Management, business management.
Yes, management. And I like to say I'm a mindful leader.
Is that it, or is there more?
No, no, I'm experiencing mindfulness in management. What do you think about it? I like to say I'm a mindful leader.
Yeah, as long as it's true, it's wonderful. Okay. But a mindful leader is not manipulative.
Hmm.
And you have to ask about, again, come back to motivation. Is your motivation to get people to work harder and faster for less money? Or is your motivation to make work truly meaningful and belong and feel like it's part of some larger meaningful engagement? So we have to be very careful that mindfulness doesn't move into the world of business and corporations and be co-opted to kind of make the assembly line go faster and have people just be exploited in the name of mindfulness. That would be a catastrophe.
Yeah. Could be very important to be a mindful leader or a mindful CEO, a mindful
Mindful
teacher, a
CEO, yeah.
mindful mother, a mindful father, a mindful son, a mindful person, a mindful cook, a mindful server, a mindful administration, mindful person, right? This is important.
Yeah,
This
yeah,
is our choice, this is our opportunity.
exactly. And the choice is you're either mindful or you're mindless.
Yeah, yeah,
So, or you are uh, in some sense creating a story about who you are
yeah,
instead of, in some sense, recognizing the mystery of who you are and who's eating your food if you're a cook.
yeah,
Because it's a relationship, just like mindfulness. It's relationality. It's like, how am I in relationship with the rest of the world? If I'm cooking in a restaurant, then the people who are eating it, this is like a sacred relationship. I mean, that's why, in Catholicism, you go and you get communion, you get something put in your mouth.
yeah,
Okay? I mean, that's really profound. So a cook, a mindful cook would really be aware of the whole circle of interconnectivity.
Yeah.
And then the person eating would taste that because it's coming from love
Yeah.
in the cooking, in the buying the food at the market, everything. And in how you treat your people. So that, like in the kitchen, very often in a restaurant, you know, it's either good vibrations or it's not good vibrations, toxic vibrations that will come out in the toxicity of the food, you know. Won't taste as good.
So frequently I ask when we talk about this topic, this issue, the motivation, the intention. I ask to people if they never had a special school teacher that they touch in some way, that they remember. Everybody, most of the people, we had one teacher. We had also bad teacher, but we have one teacher. And I'm used to ask, what was that this teacher give to you? Sometimes it's love, it's intention. It was seeing the people, the deep intention, the education, kindness. So as one school teacher can remain, I have two teachers that are alive in my life.
Really?
In the first elementary, the first class.
Elementary school.
The elementary school was like a mother, and it was quite strong, but the love of being strong is alive in all of
Yeah.
our scholars. So
I
this
love that.
is
I love that you're
really,
saying that, Franco.
yeah, this is witnessing the really how we can be mindful. The intention, not I have to be mindful, the intention of to be aware in what we are. This is the karmic assignment. This teacher embodied the karmic assignment.
Could we go to some of the hands
Yeah,
that are raised and,
yeah,
and
yeah,
actually have the questions asked by the people?
yeah.
Yeah.
From Bruno, ciao Bruno. As mindfulness enters mainstream
No, I'm
medicine.
talking about, like, could you
Ah,
ask Ilana Lopez to just unmute and ask her question by herself?
oh,
Do you
let
see
me.
that? Do you see the
Okay,
question?
I was reading. Yes.
Yeah, yeah. Let's go
Let
out of the
let
chat and
yeah,
actually
yeah,
have
yeah,
like
yeah,
a real dialogue with people.
yeah. Let me check the
Of course, we could
command.
do this for another
Okay, yeah,
10
yeah,
hours,
yeah,
but
yeah, 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 yeah.
just for a few minutes
Of
at least.
course. Let me open the mic. Where is it? Okay. Just a
And would
moment.
everybody who talks say where?
Yes. Yeah. Sorry, I turn off also your mic. John, can you turn on? Now the mic are open, so
Okay,
let me see who is the first person in the list.
Elana on my screen.
You see, Lana, I
Lopez.
saw Patrizia before.
Okay,
I see.
Patricia, fine, whatever. Can you
Patrizia,
unmute her?
you have your hand, electronic hand. I don't know if it's right or is wrong. If you want to share a
You
question,
have to unmute her.
I think it's
She's muted.
consenti di yes. I think they can open the mic. Now it's habilitated. You have to turn on your mic. Now it's possible to open the mic. John, if you can open your mic, and Elena Lopez. So can you turn on your mic, Elena? So I ask to all of you, can you open the mic?
Yes, we can.
Yeah,
I think I
perfect.
can.
Yes.
Perfect. So I don't know if Elena, are you here? No, so we can ask to Daniela.
Thank you so much. This has been really wonderful. I'm Daniela from Italy. I'm new. I've just finished my MBSR course and I'm in love with it. And the question is, how do you
John, your
see...
mic is off. Sorry. Okay.
Daniela, can you just tell us where in Italy you're located?
Milan. I'm in Milano.
Okay. Yeah.
I'm particularly interested in understanding how do you see MBSR
Yes, we
and
can.
mindfulness in schools with kids and starting from what age?
That's a wonderful question, and it has tremendous power. There's no question about it, but it has to be taught appropriately, which means that the teachers have to know what it is, and they have to be teaching out of their own experience. So that's not that easy. Let me just recommend to you and anybody else who's interested in it that there's a wonderful book by a person named Rechtschaffen, Daniel Rechtschaffen, who is a young man who wrote a fabulous book about teaching mindfulness in schools. And there is a whole program in the United States called Mindfulness in Schools. So I think if it's done correctly by people who really have their own deep meditation practice and know how to teach children, then it can be really valuable. Otherwise, it's better not to do it, because the children are going to be much more mindful than the teacher anyway. And so it's really important to not pollute their original mindfulness. Thank you for that question.
Thank you so much.
Angelica,
Where are you calling from, Angelica?
Hi, I'm calling from Italy, Sicily, exactly.
Where, Sicily?
Sicily.
Sicily, exactly.
Wonderful, wonderful.
First of all, I'm so I do have such a lot of emotions, because for me it's a very great moment to hear all these words, and also see a lot of people all together pursuing the same aim of awareness and connection among all of us.
Grazie.
Grazie a te. But rather than words, I would like to share with the group an image that bloomed from the very beginning of this session. I've been focusing a group of migratory birds, and I think it came from when you started to talk about the indigenous wisdom. And I think this is my visual idea of humanity, like individuals cooperating instead of competing.
Competing. Yeah.
Competing. And this aim of harmony, I think it's the idea of harmony that arose this image of birds. So thank you very much. Thanks to the words and to the whole group for this great opportunity. Thank you.
Grazie a lei.
Grazie Angelica. Gianluca. Ciao Gianluca.
Thank you. Well, I'm a little bit excited.
Where are you calling from, Gianluca?
I am calling from Cagliari, which is in Sardinia, Italy.
Oh, wonderful.
Yes. First thing that I want to say is to thank you, John, because with your program, you really changed my life in many ways. This is my occasion to thank you. And thank you to Franco too, who taught me how to share this beautiful way of living with people. And I practice mindfulness meditation from 10 years. I teach as I can from 7 years or something like that. And my question is, how can I support people to practice more? Because to motivate them to practice every day, to practice a lot in their life, and after the program too, it's really, I think it's really difficult. I do my best, but I think people do too. But it's so fragile, cucchio, in Franco,
Fragile.
fragile, yes.
Fragile.
This this discipline.
I think if I can try to address that, Gianluca,
Yes.
I think to emphasize it the way I've been doing today as a love affair, rather than just one more thing that you have to squeeze into your busy day, is really helpful. I mean, because then you can actually frame it as the most important thing you do at all. It's like if you were a violinist, for instance, in an orchestra, you don't, I'm a great violinist, I have a Stradivarius, I'm going to just go in and play Beethoven. No, you practice over and over and over again. You practice, 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 practice. And they don't do it because, oh, I'm no good. It's because, like, I want to actually be fully present in the moment, but you have to actually practice. So practice is in meditations, not for some future time, it's for this only moment. And when you emphasize that that's all we all have, we don't have anything but this moment, then that's very motivating to actually practice every single day. And if so, the more you can articulate that, and also not blame people if they have a hard time with it, because we're asking them, it's one of the hardest thing in the world to actually be mindful for even one in-breath, never mind the out-breath too. So we're asking people to do something that's impossibly hard, and that's the reason to do it, because it's impossible. And that's the love affair. And then, of course, once you're motivated, it's no problem at all. And you can always wake up. I mean, for most of my life, I would wake up at 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning to practice, the way they do in Zen, sometimes 3 o'clock in the morning. But like, how important is it? So I gave up a lot of sleep in my younger decades. But now I feel like the older you get, the more you need sleep. So, but I have the momentum of practice in my life. And then the other thing to emphasize is that everything's practice. Cooking breakfast is practice. Slicing vegetables is practice. Making love is practice. Saying goodbye to your children in the morning or grandchildren it's all practice. And that way, that also reinforces your motivation to, and I'm going to say this in a kind of very colorful way, get your ass on your meditation cushion every day.
Grazie. Lorenza? Lorenza, hai la mano alzata, volevi chiedere qualcosa? O accidentale?
Sì, sì, finalmente sono riuscita. Hi, John. I don't know if my English is enough.
It's
I
enough.
try.
Thank
So,
you.
I I can't forget what you give us during COVID. So I was with you.
Oh, yeah, for the medication retreat.
I was with you every day, and one day I was so lucky that I met you in the little room, and so
Oh,
we spoke together. And I was just trained with the MBSR, with Franco and Gerardo.
Gerardo.
And
Gerardo.
these two people changed my life. And but I don't teach. I am an artist, and I try to live mindfulness in my job. And I think this is my karma. I try to give what I embody in my job.
Beautiful. I don't even know if you mean job, but maybe calling, your love. Because I don't think of artists as having jobs. I think they have callings.
That's right.
Non
And
è
so
vero?
it's a very big thank you.
Thank you. Well received. And it just touches my heart. Lorenza, touches my heart. Thank you.
Margherita, we have a few minutes more. It's fine for you, John?
Yeah, we can go over a little bit, sure.
Ero io perché poi l'avevo abbassata, ma it's okay, thank you. Was it
Ciao,
me, Margherita? Yes. I wanted to
Where are you calling from, Margherita?
From Lake Iseo, which is in northern Italy,
Okay,
a little lake.
nice.
And I wanted to thank you so much, because I really felt during this meditation that I'm enough. And this is not easy every day. But I think also that if everybody can think that about themselves and about other people, that's the recipe of peace. And it's very, very simple. But the question is, since you know about mindfulness, you brought mindfulness to the world, and you know that this is the right way of living. I mean, one of the right ways of living. Are you never disappointed by the fact that the world is in such conditions? I mean, that nobody listens, or not nobody, but many people don't listen. What do you do?
No, that doesn't discourage me at all. I mean, the world, I think, is always pregnant with possibility. And if you look even objectively at what's happened with mindfulness in the past 50 years, it's astonishing. And I'm not doing it, it's doing itself. There's a way in which mindfulness is moving into the world in some kind of way that's actually quite mysterious. And it may be that humanity is recognizing its own genius, its own deep creativity, and also how toxic the human mind is and the human heart is when it doesn't know itself, when it doesn't befriend itself and is driven, as I said, by greed, hatred, and delusion. So I'm not at all surprised that the world is taking to it like this. In fact, I feel incredibly uplifted. But the important thing to understand is it doesn't have to do with me or Thich Nhat Hanh or the Dalai Lama or whoever you want to sort of attribute this to. It has to do with a we rather than a me. It's not one individual. It's humanity itself, in some sense, waking up to the enormity of the suffering that is generated by the human mind when it doesn't know itself, and the potential for really remarkable well-being and happiness when the human mind does discover itself, not intellectually, but, in embodied ways. And all the meditation teachers in all the traditions, in all the religious, lineages, including Vedanta and the sort of non-dual practices in Asia, in all the traditions, they're all different paths up the same mountain, or different, different doors into the same room, so to speak. Yes, every doorway is different, and we can love the doorways and really want to, sort of worship the doorway. But the real invitation isn't to love the doorway, but to enter the room. And that's what we're doing. That's what Franco is teaching. That's what MBSR is really all about. It's just one more doorway into the room of the human heart when it knows itself.
Thank you, Margherita. Thank you, John. I think maybe, John, the last one.
Sure, I guess, yeah, in the interest of time, we should stop pretty much when we said we would, but yeah.
Just the last, Margherita. You are
And sorry for those of you who are not going to get your questions asked, but let me just say something about that before you go, Margarita. If you have a question, because even if we were all together on retreat for 10 days, there will never be enough time to answer everybody's question. But the fact that you're asking a question is itself something that you can inquire into. You can meditate on, where does this question come from? And you will find, I think, in most cases, that you, right next to where the question is coming from in your heart, are a whole range of different answers. And that you don't need some expert to answer your question, that you are the expert if you're into deep listening and respecting your own capacity for even asking an intelligent question. So that said, over to you, Margarita.
Margherita.
Can you unmute?
Ok.
Posso
Yeah.
parlare? Sì.
Yes.
Perdonatemi, posso parlare in italiano? Il mio
Sorry.
inglese è pessimo.
I'm sorry, I
Ciao.
have to do the translator, but it take sei molto breve.
Sì,
Sei
solo
molto
volevo
bene.
riportare riguardo alla scuola, mi sono avvicinata alla mindfulness perché sono un insegnante di sostegno e per cercare una modalità per aiutare i bambini in una maniera diversa. E mi sono avvicinata al lavoro di Susan Böhler, di cui sicuramente lei conosce perché ho visto un video dove c'era anche lei.
Posso chiederti una
John.
domanda, Margherita, per i
Sì, non
tempi?
era una domanda, era questa possibilità, visto che si parlava di scuola e mindfulness, che ci sono le possibilità di farlo. Io sto facendo la formazione per la mindfulness nelle scuole, era solo un contributo che volevo dare e ringraziare John perché nel suo intervento, quando ha fatto questa intervista ha lavorato con Susan Böhler, appunto mi ha aperto proprio un mondo di possibilità di lavorare con i bambini particolarmente difficili. Grazie.
So she wants to thank you and to share, just was sharing that she's a teacher in the school for kids with special needs, that she did a training with Susan Böhler,
Yeah.
that she's know that you
From
collaborate,
Holland, from the Netherlands.
and that she
Susan
was
Bergels. Yeah.
that she want to share that if I
Wonderful,
correctly,
wonderful.
if we want, we can do something through ourselves.
Absolutely.
And she
That's
want to thank
very,
you.
very, very beautiful work. Yeah. Grazie.
Okay. So let's go to the main hall just to give a big big side. Oh, I cannot change your position, John. I don't know what's
That's all right. It doesn't matter.
Can
I'm
you?
here.
Okay. So thank you so much, John. We have no words to thank you. And
Prego.
I think the healing, the healer is in ourselves. So everyone has this potentiality and this nature. And if you are here to inspire us to follow the way of not only curing, but really the way of healing for ourselves and for the society.
Well, the only thing I would like to say is, first of all, to thank you, Franco, for everything that you have been doing over all these many years to bring mindfulness into the world through Motus Mundi and everything else that you do. I mean, it's just really extraordinary. And to just thank everybody for showing up today for this. It's a real privilege
Grazie.
to have been with all of you. And I think that at times like this, it's a little bit like we take a pebble and we drop it into a pond and the ripples go out. And all of us are part of those ripples that are going out into society. And the most important regulator of authenticity is your own heart. And so to not doubt who you are and who am I to teach mindfulness, but to see it as a kind of inquiry of what does it mean to be who I am and to offer the world what it is that I most love or who it is that I most am. And then you can't go wrong. And of course, we can always continue to learn from each other and to learn from great teachers of the past as well as those who are alive now. And I feel like this is the karmic assignment of humanity on planet Earth at this moment. We're whole, but we're also part of much, much larger circles of wholeness. And then when we come together in this way, we really ignite passion in each other for what's possible. And I want to just express the infinite gratitude to you, Franco, and for everybody who showed up today for actually making this possible.
Thank you to you.
Una famiglia. Una famiglia, non è vero? Una famiglia.
Grazie.
Di consapevolezza. Last thing I'll say is, Mindfulness is a very nice word,
Yeah.
but consapevolezza is music.
Consapevolezza del cuore.
Del cuore. Certo,
Non di
certo,
quello della
certo.
mente, consapevolezza.
Ciao John.
Ciao a tutti.
Ciao
Ciao.
a tutti,
Grazie
grazie
tanto.
mille.
Ciao a tutti, grazie mille.
Ti
Thank you so
amore.
much.
Thank you so much.
Bye,
Grazie
bye.
Jon.
Oh, how wonderful.
A Motus Mundi, grazie Franco.
Ciao a tutti.
Grazie Jon.
Grazie Giacomo.
Grazie.
Bye. Ciao.
Grazie veramente.
Franco, ciao.
Grazie mille.
Ciao.
Thank you for your
Fantastico, fantastico.
Grazie.
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 Arrivederla, arrivederla. Buonasera.
Grazie.
Grazie.
For you in Italy.
Ciao.
Thank you.
Gracias.
Grazie.
Gracias.
Ciao ciao.
Pronto, adiós.
Adiós.
Comunidad de
Franco.
España.
Ciao.
Quella italiana.
Ciao, grazie.
Muchas gracias.
Ciao.